And hi again, everybody. Doug Miles here. Don Henderson, and not with us tonight, but we wanted to have our buddy Pete the Prophet back on after that very unusual, controversial Kentucky Derby that we saw Saturday night. And I know, Pete, we did the preview on Thursday and went through all the permutations, but I don't think anybody expected anything like this that would happen. A 65 to 1 shot Country House winning, but more importantly, a horse being taken down for the first time ever, at least the way this was done. I think in 1968, a horse was disqualified after the fact, a day later because of drug problems or drug tests. But boy, what a weird day.
It really was. You know, there was not that long ago when Ali Sheba ran, I believe it was in the, I'm pretty sure it was in the Derby, where a horse bore out on him and he almost fell down and kept upright but won the race. So there was obviously no foul, and we don't talk about it. But yesterday, same thing. The horse didn't go down, but the horse that got interfered with didn't win and wasn't going to win. And that then begins the big debate. What's the right call? Letter of the law, no question, no doubt the horse should have been taken down. But a couple of things to bring up. First of all, the fact that the stewards didn't put up the inquiry sign is pretty unbelievable. And I think they just wanted it to go away. It's a 20 horses in a race, 19 in this case, roughly run. That's the Derby, and you let it go. I am very disappointed in John Court, the rider of Long Range Toddy, the one that claimed one of the fouls, a dead horse who was finished on the turn and absolutely got checked, but wasn't costing him anything, any position to get any money. Never should have claimed that foul. That's just in the Derby. Maybe that's why John Court doesn't get mounts. Never should have charged a foul there. And Pratt, the rider of Country House, also claimed foul for what goes on in every single racetrack, every single race, a slight little bump, which had nothing to do, which certainly had to do with what happened inside him, but didn't throw him off. The bottom line is the best horse won the race, and now the Preakness is basically, unless maximum security runs, which I probably doubt he will. I don't think they've made a decision yet on that, but makes this basically a waste of time. Country House, I don't think has much of a chance. And what happens in these races, we've had the last 3 races in the slop, and 2 great champions have won before. But in general, this race is just a waste. It doesn't really help you in any way determining who is a champion 3-year-old.
Yeah, I was watching the race with our pal Ed, who does a lot of football with us at a sports restaurant, and we were watching the replay. They showed it about 50,000 times, but I haven't seen as many races in my life as you have, Pete. But just judging from even the slow motion replays, it didn't look like to me there was much contact. If it was incidental. I've never seen a horse taken down from my very limited experience because of that. It didn't seem like it would have affected the race. But you say this is something that does happen, and horses are taken down for this, huh?
If this is any other race at any other time, the horse absolutely
really
comes down, and rightfully so.
Because it wasn't like a hard bump, at least what I saw. Maybe I missed
it. You definitely missed it. If you watch the slow motion replay of the NBC when they zero in on the actual legs,
okay.
War of Will gets hit twice, turns sideways. If not the Gaffleone's horsemanship, that horse goes down.
Really?
He got hit sideways. Because of that, checked another horse right out of the race. And then Long Range Toddy also got knocked out of the race, but was dying anyway. It was egregious. It was not a jockey's issue. It was because the horse spooked because of the crowd noise, and then came back on the inside. Bottom line is the fact that horse comes back to win that race, that comes back, who's headed in the stretch of a speed horse headed in the stretch, comes back and pulls off by 3/4. The horse that he hits, War of Will, was exhausted at the finish and finished 5th or 6th, so it didn't cost him a spot. There was no way that Country House was winning that race. And I'm going to go back to the old days of Muhammad Ali, where if you're going to win a heavyweight fight, you got to knock out the champion. And that was not a knockout. The best horse won that race, and in my opinion, he should have been left up. And that being said, first of all, the fact that our president thinks that that the result was wrong tells me that I don't know, that's always weird when the president of the U.S.
I saw that he tweeted that today. Yeah. So that's why we have you on, Pete. Because again, I was looking more like the butt end of the horse. Usually, you figure that's where the bumping happens, but it was the feet. And I wasn't looking at the feet, so that's why you're on, Pete.
That's why I'm here, Doug. That's why I'm here. He came the back feet of Maximum Security hit the front legs of War of Will, and luckily he didn't go down. Definitely a really bad chain reaction there, and he absolutely deserves to come down. And so, I don't really feel good about saying, because I feel a lot better yesterday when I'm watching the races with a whole bunch of people. I'm laughing, saying there's no way they're taking this horse down. There's just no way.
Right.
And there's just not a chance. Sort of replays, I realized that it was a little bit worse than I thought. Still didn't think they should have took him down. Today I have a little bit more of a view of, I understand, kind of why they took him down, and I get it. And you can't look at the future. You can't look at the fact that now the Preakness is basically, doubtfully Standard Security runs in that, the Maximum Security runs in that race. And then, who he would have had over a barrel in that race, and then they would have had a shot at Triple Crown again. So that's all shot now because it's highly unlikely Country House will win it. But it's a tough decision.
You mentioned something earlier. It was a jockey objection, not a steward's inquiry. That's the word inquiry that they post on the board. If the steward sees something, and they did not put that up at all, I don't think.
No, they
didn't want to make that decision. You could tell. I mean, it took 20, 25 minutes. Usually a steward's inquiry, takes 5 minutes on average, maybe 10?
If even. And normally, as a horse racing person, I'm sitting there with other horse racing people, and we go by about the 10th minute, and then we get into like the 15th minute, we're going, oh boy, they really are looking at this, because otherwise they would have just taken this right down and not done it. The other thing on top of that, which is really interesting, and I don't know if it's the credit to Tyler Gaffalione, the rider of War of Will, but he did not claim foul.
Right.
And he was the one that got all the bumping, and he suffered the most out of any of those horses. Still wasn't winning, but he did not claim foul. Now, did he not claim foul because he's a good guy? He understands that's racing, and he and his horse had no shot to win? I would love to hear what he has to say about that. Or did he not claim foul because already there were 2 claims of foul up on the board? So a very hollow victory indeed.
And Maximum Security, which again surprised me reading about some of the notes today, or some of the stories today in the paper, it wasn't just dropped to 2nd or 3rd or 4th, dropped all the way to 17th, which is is that normally what they do? Because I guess they said all the horses ahead of that, 16 and up, whatever, were affected by it, so they dropped him to 17th.
Yeah, they put him behind the furthest, the worst horse, the worst finishing horse that he affects. They've always put him behind that. So
he gets no money at all then? No, nothing at all?
He gets nothing.
Wow.
No, he gets nothing. So for winning the Derby and having all that down to nothing, I know that I think the trainer has been he's been very good about it. I think the owner is losing his mind now. He wants to object, and he wants to claim he wants to have a hearing and all this stuff. There will be no change in that at all. The jockey, I don't know if you heard this, has tweeted something which was then removed about an hour later. He tweeted something about a race earlier in the card where basically he's saying the same thing happened, and he says, kind of like what's the deal sort of thing. And,
right.
But then that tweet was taken down an hour after he posted it.
Yeah, it's usually when they'll take a horse down, it'll drop maybe 1 or 2 spots, but that just took it completely out of the money altogether. Yeah, I thought NBC. I mean, they just had the cameras on, both trainers involved in there, and trying to ask them questions. And these guys were trying to watch and see what was going on. I thought maybe they, were jumping the gun on it. I don't know why they do it, but those trainers, particularly Maximum Security's trainer, just kind of was looking bewildered there. He's waiting for an answer, and he really couldn't answer any questions until it came through. I mean, he said, we'll wait to see what happens. But I wasn't thrilled with NBC's coverage of that, and they didn't really explain it, at least from what I heard at the place I was. Now, the sound wasn't great, but I don't think they did a great job of explaining what was going on. What do you think?
The only thing that was done very well was by the announcers, not the ones that were down there trying to interview, because like you said, he's obviously just staring at the board. There's nothing you're going to get out of him at that point. He doesn't know what went on either. He's watching the race in a worse position than we're watching the race, and then he's not seeing the replays that we're seeing on TV. But I think the best, Jerry Bailey is a wonderful color analyst.
Yeah, he's very good.
And he's very good, and he was kind of pretty much saying all the stuff that I said, which was about that if this is a regular day, he's taken down, but then as soon as they took him down, he said, the best horse won the race.
Yeah.
And in this race, that should be enough. And, it goes back, I think I mentioned it when we spoke on the other day, is that there was a Breeders' Cup race. I think it was a horse named Berens, and I forgot who the other horse was, and there was a very bad incident at the gate that absolutely cost the horse the race, but they left him up because, that's just, in the big races, it's going to have to be something pretty egregious, and that sure was. This was egregious, but the best horse won the race. The race I'm talking about, the Breeders' Cup, well, we don't know because the other horse finished second and was only a length or so behind. Probably the best horse did not win the race that day, but was kept up. In this case, clearly the best horse won. And I'll be curious, I know a lot of people were drilling this horse because of his speed and how easily he won the Florida Derby. But this horse can rate, he can do what he has to do, and it's a very impressive performance. Again, on the sloppy racetrack, so let's see what happens. But unfortunately, we're probably not going to get to see what happens now, I don't think.
Yeah, we'll do a Preakness preview as we get the post positions and all that. But you did mention now the gravity of the race now, 65-1 shot. Now it'll be bet down to lower odds because people tend to do that no matter who wins the Derby. The Preakness, that horse gets whatever the odds were. It'll probably go off something like 8-1 now, 10-1 if it right.
Yeah, certainly won't be the favorite, but will be.
But won't be deserved at that though. I mean, he didn't deserve really consideration in this race. It just was a luck of the draw that all this happened.
No, and he had run in a sloppy race the race before in the Arkansas Derby and ran behind the horse I was sure going to win the race when the horse turned up sloppy, which was improbable. He ran behind that horse, and he just he ran a great race. You got to also give the credit to that horse also. I mean, post 19, post 18, wherever he was, he had a tough trip on the outside there. So he ran well, but again, it was a sloppy track, so changes the whole complexion of the race. And it's a shame this year has been a bad year for horse racing with the Santa Anita stuff, and then this, and even imagine if the War of Will had fallen down or something. Oh my goodness, what would have happened then? Oh my God.
I was going to say
maybe Trump can pardon.
That's right. Presidential pardon and change it around. That would cause some interest there. I was going to say we'll wrap it up with this, but how will this affect the casual fans' interest in horse racing? Does it hurt it, or do they just say, "Well, it's just another crazy thing"? They don't really care. The hardcore fans, do they care about this? Does it hurt it, or doesn't it matter?
The really hardcore fans don't care because it's about the betting.
Right.
The pure, people like myself, people that remember the game as it was and how wonderful it was with the better horses and just a different way of running. You look at it differently. You just look at it as a whole different thing. And the casual race fan could care less. They were on to something else later that night, and are following it a little bit. It's a little bit of water cooler talk, but makes no difference. Listen, even that Santa Anita stuff. I told you the other day that people, were even asking me about it, which is unbelievable because no one ever talks to me about horse racing out of my friends. So it's out there and known, but it goes away. It's not like talking about the Islanders where it stays with you and you keep talking about it. It's there. It goes in your head. You hear it from one time and you never hear it again. So that's the end. And I'm not even sure if our Preakness preview will even be very exciting, but at least we'll get to rehash this one more time.
Yeah, we'll rehash this and then we'll talk hockey.
And that's really all that we really care about right now. So
well, you bring up a good point. Again, we'll finish it up with that. But again, look at the football game last year, last fall, New Orleans, and getting the bad call. People still talking about that. This won't be that though. for the horse
Not
racing.
even not even close. I mean, they'll be talk next year about it. There'll be stuff right now, but will it affect anything? No. Will it make a change like what's happened now in the NFL, where now they're going to review? They can make a change to that call, and that was egregious.
Right.
So now that it will make a change in that sport, but it will make no difference here. In that case, it's pretty much a. I guess it depends on what you think. I always think of, you're talking about hockey, I think about like what Don Cherry would say for that disqualification, and would just say, "Hey, it's hockey out there. Listen, that's just the way it goes.
Let him play.
Let him play. Throw the body and let him play. So that's it."
If only we had the audience that Don Cherry gets on that little 8-minute segment in
We
Canada. Well, maybe in Canada we do, but maybe we do. I'll have to check. Pete the Prophet, always good catching up. We want to have you on to get a little recap here. We'll look forward to our Preakness look ahead. Maybe there'll be something good that'll happen before then that we can talk about, but it's always interesting no matter what.
Excellent, Doug. Thank you very much.